Welcome back, everyone. Today's video is going to be a little different. I actually participated in the webcam community event that was put on by Let's Talk UVS and Tam Cardwell this weekend. And I thought I'd go over the deck that I played in that event. I actually had someone that I played against request a video on the deck, so I thought we'd go over it. I played Gentle Criminal because 3 days before the tournament, so this would be on a Wednesday, I've realized that I forgot that I was going to be playing in said tournament, and I had recently deconstructed all of my decks to do a full reset. Sometimes I just tear everything apart, start from scratch, build one deck, and then just go from there. It's a great way for me to, like, decompress when I'm kind of feeling bored. So I didn't have a deck, and I decided I was going to play Kiryu on order because I liked this combo I had with playing a couple of attacks, play The Future Is Now, and then end with a big Patchwork Babies. And halfway through building that deck, I decided, City Rampage Gentle Criminal sounds fun. So a friend of mine, Josh, one of my locals, came over literally the night before the tournament and helped me put this deck together and test 3 games. So this deck is nowhere near perfect. This is barely more than just an idea at this point. That's why the sideboard looks awful and confusing, because I really only had 2 or 3 ideas for sideboard cards, and I kind of just threw the rest in. So I'll go over the deck. Pardon me. I have a bit of a cough I'm getting over. So I'll go over the deck writ large, and then I'll discuss what I would change to kind of make it better, since I came up with better ideas after submitting my deck list, like a pro. Go me. So yeah, let's dive into it. Gentle Criminal is a 6 hand size, 28 health character. He's also one of my favorite MHA characters. Him and La Brava are just the cutest couple. I love them, and they kind of remind me of me and my wife. Not just the height difference. My wife's a little bit shorter than me. They're adorable. I love them. But he has 2 responses, and his symbols are Chaos, Order, and Void. I've built this off the Chaos symbol. But his first response says, after an attack is blocked, your next check to play an attack or block gets plus X. X equals the printed block modifier of that block. So if I block with a +3 modifier, my next check to block is going to get +3. If my rival plays a +2 block modifier to block me, my next check to play an attack gets +2. Simple. And then as another response, after I play an attack, if I had modified the check to play that attack, it gets +X speed. X equals the amount it was modified by. And I've got a really fun story from the tournament of why that ability alone is insane. So moving into our attacks, it's mainly... Well, let's skip ahead to our actions because there's only 4, and that's City Rampage. As a static, this card says all my attacks get 1 speed and 1 damage. That's pretty good. And then as a form, so just playing it from my hand anytime I could play an attack, my checks to play attacks with a printed difficulty of 5 or greater get +2 for the rest of the turn. Which means, with Gentle Criminal, and that second response, all of my attacks get an additional 2 speed for the rest of the turn. So any attack I play is coming in with a minimum of +3 speed, +1 damage. That's nutty, and I love it. I actually had several times during the tournament where I played City Rampage, then another City Rampage, so all my attacks were getting an additional 4 speed, and then 2 speed and 2 damage, so 6 speed and 2 damage on every attack I played. It was ridiculous. So let's get into those attacks. First up, we have Heat Ray. Most of these are going to be... some of these are from the Godzilla Challenger series. This is a 7-6. It's a 6 difficulty attack. All of my attacks are 5 difficulty or higher. And this says Enhance. This attack gets +1 damage for every 2 cards in my discard pile that have a printed difficulty of 5 or greater. And that is 20 from these attacks, 5 from the City Rampages, or 4 from the City Rampages, so that's 24 cards. I don't think I have any 5 difficulty foundations. So 24 cards. So I could get up to 11 damage on this thing, and the one time I played it, I believe, or I might have played it in 2 matches, during the entire 5 rounds I played, I think I got at least 5 damage on it each time. So 7 low 6, automatically coming in with +3 speed, +1 damage if I've used City Rampage, so a 10 low 7 that can then boost its own damage some more. That's incredible. Then we have Smashing Stomp, easily one of the MVPs of the deck. It's a 4 low 6, low attacks are really high value right now. It's got EX3, which would allow me to get more speed if needed. As an enhance, my next check to play an attack gets +1. So that means if I have a City Rampage, and then I play this, not only is this coming in with +3 speed and +1 damage, but then my next attack gets an additional check to play to the play, which means it's getting an additional +3 speed from Gentle, so it comes in with 4 speed, 1 damage, which is ridiculous. And then as a response, if it deals damage, I get to draw a card. I tried to make sure that every attack in this deck either drew me a card or boosted its own damage, with 2 exceptions, which we'll see here in a little bit. We have Big Frickin' Explosion. I have this as a 2 of because I only own 2. I've only picked up 1 of the Jester and Not Challenger series. My locals sold out of it really, really quick, so I only was able to pick up my 1 pre-order. But a 5 high 5 that allows me to spend 1 momentum, mill 3 cards. So discard the top 3 cards of my deck. Hello, Harley. What are you doing up in the closet? Well, hopefully you can get down. I'm kind of busy. But you spend 1 momentum, mill the top 3 cards of your deck. This attack gets +1 damage for each attack in your discard pile. And if you've milled 3 attacks this way, you lose health equal to this attack's half this attack's damage, rounded down after it resolves. I was able to play this attack twice. The first time I milled and got 15 damage on it. So that was fun, because I milled 2 attacks and an asset. And then the next time I played it, I milled 3 foundations. So one time I was very close to taking 10 damage because I boosted this to 20 damage with 1 spent momentum. Really insane. I absolutely love that. One of the showrunners here is Walk the Dog. This is an 8 difficulty printed attack, but it can reduce itself to a difficulty of 4 if my rival has at least 4 committed foundations. But because City Rampage, and as we'll see later, Unmatched Power, says printed difficulty. So even if I play this and it's a 4 diff, so I play it maybe City Rampage, then Big Frickin' Explosion, then Walk the Dog, technically I'm playing it on a 6, because it's a 4 difficulty attack, but because it's a printed difficulty 8, all of my bonuses still apply. It's a 6 low 6, it's got Powerful 3, it's got Stun 1, and as an enhance, it allows me to draw 1 card for each copy of Walk the Dog in my card pool. So, the funniest thing with this was round 1 I played against a Rodon deck, and that player, he says the only reason he beat me was because one of his locals has a very similar deck to this with Gentle Criminal, so he knows the matchup. I think he would have had it anyway because Rodon can just put so much speed that my little block shenanigans don't really matter. So that was a bit of a struggle, but the funny thing was he barrier shielded my second attack in my turn, and I'd had City Rampage already. I believe I had 2 City Rampages, played an attack, played a second attack, and on that second attack he used Barrier Shield, which reduces my speed to 0 and gives his next block Breaker 2. When he blocked, he initiated his Breaker 2. I said, that's fine. I'm going to get a bonus from Gentle Criminal. No, I only had the 1 City Rampage. So I basically got the +2 from City Rampage, and then the +2 from Gentle Criminal, and then my check gets -2 because of his Barrier Shield. I played a Walk the Dog. I passed my check, thankfully, because of the +4 to the check. So initially, it basically treated me as getting +2 to my check. I checked a 7 on a difficulty of 6. However, the way Gentle Criminal is worded for his second response is the speed is X equals the amount the check was modified by. So the funny thing is, my +2 plus the other +2 from Gentle Criminal is 4, and then the -2, that's still a modification of 2, which means Gentle Criminal gave my Walk the Dog +6 speed on its own. So 6 speed from Gentle Criminal plus the speed from City Rampage brought Walk the Dog in at a +7 low speed. So it's a 13 speed, 7 damage move just for playing the card. And we had to call a judge. Thank you to Melanie, also known as Cementos Queen or Akira on the Discord. She was a great judge for the event. And I apologize for the mental hoops that we made you jump through and all the math that early in the morning. But we wanted to make sure that we were right, because that's how we thought it worked. We thought I got the +2 to the check after all of the math, and then because the -2 was also a modification, I would get the +6 speed. We just wanted to make sure that we were correct on that. And yeah, it was a fun and hilarious interaction that caused him to never breaker me again. He would barrier shield, he would block, and he would never activate breaker again because he didn't want that additional 2 speed. So, very fun interaction if you're a Gentle Criminal player. Breaker helps you. So, that was pretty fun. Next up, I had Gently Theft. Again, I only had 2 because I only own 2, even though initially building this deck I thought I had 3. I don't. But it's a 4 mid-8, it's got flash, which means you go straight from your response window of playing the card to the block step. There is no enhanced step on this card. But as a response, I can spend 1 momentum. After I play this attack, my rival discards a card. So I love to use this as an opener if I have momentum, to rip a card out of my rival's hand, so that's 1 less block I have to worry about. And I actually got to play the Deadlock response on this card during one match, where after I play it, my rival has to remove a card from their hand. I had a rival who was holding a lot of blocks to make sure that they could try to... Excuse me. I don't know if it was the Mothra player I played against. I should probably say I played against a Rodon, a Kiryu, a Mothra, a Genkai, and a Itsuka Kendo, which was an insane match. But I did play... It was either the Kendo or the Mothra. Someone had gone into Deadlock, and they were able to use a lot of speed hate. And I was able to rip 2 cards out of their hand with the Gently Theft to try to push my attack line through. Another heavy hitter is Canyon Cannon here. It's a 5 high for 3. But as a enhance, I can mill 2, and this attack gets +1 damage for each different symbol among those cards. This can get me usually up to 5 extra damage, which can really push through. This becomes a 5 high 8. With City Rampage, it's a 6 high 9, not including any speed that Gentle Criminal puts on it. But there was one time I milled 2 of the same Godzilla card and only got 3 damage. That sucked, but it usually was netting me 4 or 5 damage each time. And then this also can fuel Big Fricking Explosion by milling more cards into my discard pile. And lastly, we have Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. This is a 4 high 6, and aside from Gently Theft, this is the only other attack that cannot either draw me a card or boost its own damage. It's here because it gives me more speed while it's in my momentum once per turn. I can commit and freeze a rival foundation. This helped me stop cards like Toughest Punk in Junior High, Learning the Standards, and other very powerful defensive abilities. And also it allows me to commit a rival asset. And against the Itsuka Kendo player, I was able to put a Cape of No Return out on my first turn. I was feeling confident, and every turn he had a Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken to commit my Cape of No Return and just pummel me into oblivion. So sometimes that just happens. For my attack lineup, changes I would make, I did not see when I was going through my things because I had a stack of cards I hadn't put away yet. I didn't see that I had 2 Armor of the Wolf lying around. And Armor of the Wolf would have been a really good card to put in here, because as my rival continues to pass their enhance, I can use the response on Armor of the Wolf to continuously gain damage, and one thing I was lacking was damage boosting in this deck. So that would have been great. If I had had more Big Fricking Explosions, I'd probably put at least 1 more in here. I like the Heat Rays, because with the Big Fricking Explosions and the Canyon Cannons, I want to have a lot of attacks in the discard pile. But but I'd probably only put it as a 1 of if I could get, like, the more Vast Hybrid Chimera Krakens, or more Armor of the Wolves, something like that. Maybe get rid of the Gently Thefts altogether, but I do like that Gently Theft does not allow my rival to use defensive enhances. Onto our assets, we have Cape of No Return. This is one of my favorite defensive pieces. You remove it from the game to remove an attack from the game that's being played, so I usually use this to get rid of an attack that I'm not able to defend myself against. And lastly, we have Nott's Flask. This is a Not the Brave card. When you build it, you get 3 boost counters. If you have no boost counters on it, your attacks get -2 speed. That's fine. You can commit it and remove a boost counter to give +3 or -3 damage to an attack. I've used this to re-up my attacks that have been damage reduced, thanks to Referee Jury, which was the bane of... I will help you in a minute. Which is the bane of my existence, because I think it was 3 matches in a row my opponent used Referee Jury to change my, like, 12 or 14 damage moves into a 4 damage move and just take 4 damage. I hate it. That card annoys the hell out of me, but I didn't have any anti-action cards, and I don't know if Chaos has a lot of anti-action stuff, but it was really a struggle. 1 second. Sorry, folks, the cat got herself up on a shelf in the closet and couldn't get herself back down. So, also as an enhance, you can mill 3, and if you did not mill an attack, you can add a booze counter to this card, so if you need to re-up your alcohol, you can. But I use this for damage reduction if I couldn't block, or damage boost if I needed to push a little bit more damage through. Onto our foundations. Most of my foundation base was doing 2 things. Either drawing me more cards because I wanted to see my attacks, and I wanted to see my city rampages more likely, which I checked more city rampages than I played, which sucked, or trying to boost more damage, because I've got speed on lock with Gentle Criminal, with city rampage. You know, speed is fine. It was the damage boosting I was worried about. So we start with Ferocious Attacker. I can flip this. If my rival has lost health this turn, I get to draw a card. A lot of times I didn't get to use this because I would only have 1 attack and it'd be a poke turn, or my rival would do really well with their blocking and I wasn't able to flip this to draw. So if anything, I'd probably change this for a different draw card. I'm already using Fearsome Transformations, but I believe there's another like flip to draw card that I had in here that I'd cut. The Toga 3 card, Dangerous Combatant, I believe it's called, or Deadly Combatant. If your rival has more committed foundations than ready, you can flip it to draw a card. I thought this would be a better card, turns out, probably not. We have History's Greatest Monster. It allows itself to ready itself once per turn after I've played a difficulty 5 or greater card. So if I play a City Rampage and I check a 3, I commit History's Greatest Monster, immediately ready itself. And in Deadlock, I can commit it to give my big damage attacks throw. That almost never happened. It's mainly here to ready itself so I can continue my strings. And this is also on offense or defense. If I block with a printed 5 or greater damage difficulty card, I can ready History's Greatest Monster as well. Next I have Monstrous Aggression. This is allowing me to destroy a foundation to keep me out of Deadlock, and it gives my attacks +1 speed, +1 damage. I would usually see this as like a 2 or 3 of, and there's only 3 in the deck, and they always stuck together. So I don't know if I was just shuffling bad or what, but I might not need 3, mainly because I struggled to build a lot throughout the whole tournament. My rivals outbuilt me almost every game, and I was really dependent on my check boosting. So that's another issue I struggled with. Titanic Combat. This is a card I'd probably put at least 1 more of in, because I forgot the response. If I take damage from an unblocked attack, I can commit this card to build the top card of my deck face down committed. That's more build. And then on my turn, during my attack, I can commit it. My attack is +2 damage, and it forces my rival to commit a foundation. So how I would probably build this going forward is, instead of focusing just on getting the boost from my rival blocking with Gentle Criminal, I'd focus more on stun and just committing my rival out so they can't block, and then using the Gentle Criminal check boosting for the blocks on defense. I think that's how I would kind of shift it up a little bit, so I'd have more stun, more forced committal, just to put my rival into, excuse me, even more of a tight spot. Then we had Unmatched Power. As a first enhance, I can remove this card, and this attack is plus X damage. X equals its printed difficulty, and I actually got to use this on a Walk the Dog to give my Walk the Dog plus 8 damage. And I threw a Walk the Dog for, I think, like 16 damage after the City Rampage boost, Unmatched Power. I think I used Monster's Aggression, and just absolutely just dunked with a huge Walk the Dog one time in the entire tournament, but it was so fun. We have Fearsome Transformations. It flips to draw a card, and if I have no momentum, I discard a card. We have Childlike Appearance. I can destroy it and spend a momentum. Reduce this attack speed to 0, and if it's blocked, commit 1 Rival Foundation. This was one of my main momentum outs. I do have Walk the Dog and Big Freaking Explosion, which can spend momentum, and Gently Theft, but it was mainly Childlike Appearance and Chivalrous Thief, which we'll get to in a minute, that were my main uses for momentum. But this, to reduce a card speed to 0, block with a +3, not only will I get +3 to my next check to block, I can then selectively commit a Rival Foundation. We also had Protecting Yukina, a +1 mid-block that after I block, if I spend 1 momentum after blocking with this card, the attack deals no damage. So, really helpful if I can't fully block something. And I can destroy it to just add the top card of my deck to my momentum if need be, if I had to build it. We have Elasticity. After an attack is blocked, the next attack this turn gets +3 or -3 damage. This helped me survive a couple of turns for blocking an attack and then having to flip if I had no cards in hand for an extra -3 damage, and then maybe Knott's Flask for another -3 damage. It really helps you to survive. Or you can flip it to cancel a stun ability and gain the top card of your deck to your momentum. But Chivalrous Thief, this is a card I really liked, and another reason I wanted to play Gentle Criminal. I never used the response to add a printed 2 speed or less from my card pool to my momentum, but I played the villain form. Once per turn, I spend 1 momentum, my rival has to spend 2 momentum, and then my next slam or taunt attack gets +2 speed and +2 damage. We have Smashing Stomp, which is a slam. We have Gently Theft, which is a slam, and we have Canyon Cannon, which is a slam. So to be able to give those attacks +2 speed and +2 damage on top of my check boosts, on top of City Rampage, and I get to get rid of 2 of my rivals' momentum so they can't do anything. I think I used this against Mothra to prevent them from readying themselves by spending 2 momentum. And I was expecting to see characters like Amajiki and other momentum-based characters, so Chivalrous Thief was a good way for me to try to keep that in check. We have Nice Try. I can commit it on my rival's turn to get -2 speed, and during my turn I can commit it to pass a check because during my rival's combat phase, after their combat phase begins, I get to ready this card. So it's basically a free commit on my turn. We have Basic Training, just good spam. Once per turn after I play an attack, it gets +1 damage. And as a deadlock response, after an attack is played, it gets +1 speed, and that is a Tenacious ability, so it's playable while committed. I never got to use the deadlock response, but I was able to put a little extra damage on some of my later string attacks. Excuse me. We have Chivalrous Competitor. I get to flip this card. We both draw a card, both me and my rival, and I can flip it before one of my foundations would be destroyed or flipped. Due to a rival's non-character effect, I get to flip this card instead to protect my foundations. I really only used it to draw, so do with that what you will. I have Struggling with Studies. I can flip this. If it's my rival's 3rd or greater attack this combat phase, I can add 1 card from my card pool to my hand, which is great to reuse my blocks that I am then gaining more boost to the checks to block again. Gentle Criminal chain blocks everything. It's really great. And I also have incredible display here. As a response I can commit after I block with a foundation, I add it back to my hand. There were a few times where I blocked with a +3 block modifier on a foundation, got +3 to my next check to block, committed incredible display, picked it up, blocked again, passed because of that +3, got another +3 to my next check to block, and I was able to survive a lot of attacks that way. So that's the deck basic. It's not perfect. I'd even say it's not even great, but for just throwing it hodgepodge together the night before an event, not bad. I went 2-3, not a great time, but the matches I lost, aside from the first game with Kendo, which was an absolute blowout, I don't think any of my losses were really blowouts. I believe I went to game 3 with each of my losses, and they all felt hard fought. They didn't feel like I just got run over. So I like that. I like if I lose feeling like I at least could have won, as opposed to just getting blown out. But there are definitely a lot of changes I would make. Moving into the sideboard doesn't really matter. Other than training with Gunhead, I would probably move to the main board of the new version, because it's all about just running through my opponent and not letting them block. It says as an enhance, if the check to play this attack was modified, the attack is +1 speed, and it's throw hate, which is pretty good, especially if you've got people like Byakko throwing 5-10 damage on throws. But with City Rampage and training with Gunhead, that's just free speed forever on all of my attacks. Runaway was the main card I wanted in the sideboard, because I could lose health equal to the printed damage of an attack, and that attack will deal no damage. This is mainly in here for cards like Armor of the Wolf, and for characters like Kiryu, which wanted to put a lot of damage on powerful attacks. So, with Armor of the Wolf going up to 15-16 damage, I could respond, lose 5 health, not take any damage from Armor of the Wolf, and I get to add the top card of my rival's deck card pool to discard pile to their card pool. So hopefully it kind of messes up their attack strings. So Runaway's good. I've got Genkai's Guidance as another get out of attack free button with that response. Destroy 3 foundations. After your rival plays an attack, remove it from the game. Assessing All for One's motive, this was mainly in here to protect my momentum. I never needed it, and it was kind of just a filler. I've got Cheerful Uppercut, again, block with it, get +2 to my check to block my next attack, and I get to add the top card of both of my rivals and mine deck to our card pools, so again, screwing up their attack strings. And if this is my first block, my next check to block is +2, so it basically takes this and the card that's added out of progressive for that next block. And then another Chivalrous Thief in case I ran into momentum hoarding decks like Amajiki or Coda, or any of these ones that want to just get all of this armor stuff into their momentum. A third Chivalrous Thief just to try to keep those under control. So other than that, really, like the Runaway, the Chivalrous Competitor, or Chivalrous Thief, Cheerful Uppercut, those were the main sideboard cards I wanted to use. Training with Gunhead, I think, could fit into the main deck really well, especially, excuse me, if I'm going to change it up to this more aggressive style deck. But mainly, the deck was play City Rampage, so that all of my attacks come in with 3 speed and 1 damage, and then have all my attacks be able to boost their own damage. It works when you draw attacks. The main issue with the deck I was seeing was I checked City Rampage a lot. There were some times where I was able to play 2 City Rampages, but then I'd only have 1 attack in my hand, and it would be like a Smashing Stomp, or a Walk the Dog, something that could draw me a card, and I would draw a Foundation. There was one turn where after playing 2 City Rampage and 2 attacks, I drew 4 cards on my second attack, and every one of them was a Foundation. Sometimes you just get the bad luck. So it could probably do with a lot of tweaking with the ratios to try to draw more attacks. There's definitely a lot of improvement, but I think I proved to myself that this kind of deck could work, which is great because I've been really wanting to build Gentle Criminal ever since he came out in Jetburn, and I just have not had an idea of what I wanted to do with him. But City Rampage Gentle Criminal is absolutely abysmal, and it's great. I love it. So let me know what you guys think of Gentle Criminal with City Rampage, or of this deck, or how you would change it. I also had a very curious question on a recent video. Someone asked me if I had a Patreon set up. So if anyone else was curious about that, I will say that I don't believe I have enough content to offer to warrant a Patreon. So I'm going to keep everything just free on the channel. I'm not going to set up a Patreon yet until I could figure out what I could offer. I know, like, a lot of people do, like, you have Tam Cardwell, who does his Deck Doctor videos. Other people can, I believe, not Let's Talk UVS, Universus Academy, they do special sponsor videos on their Patreon, and they can help, like, the Patreon subscribers, I think, can also, like, suggest videos and stuff like that. Because I'm such a new creator, and I'm still kind of finding my feet here, I don't think I have enough to warrant that I can offer to warrant asking people to pay me money on a Patreon. So to that one person who asked, I really appreciate it. But as of right now, everything is just going to stay as it is, free to watch, free to subscribe, until I can figure out what I can offer to warrant asking people to actually pay for that content. I'm just going to keep it as is. I'm happy with this right now. But yeah, so thank you to Let's Talk UVS and Tam Cardwell for an amazing tournament. I wish that I didn't take almost all of my matches to time so that I could grab more snacks in between each round. Thank you to all of my 5 opponents that I played, whose names, except for Mr. Jesse Cervini, all escape me, because that was the only other name I was familiar with already. For just having a good time with me and laughing. Everyone was really cool. I didn't play anyone who was just rude or toxic or anything. We all had a good time, I feel, or at least that's what I walked away with, and even when I lost, I had fun. So thank you to everyone who played. Thank you again to Melanie for judging. You did a great job, and I look forward to playing in the next webcam tournament. I believe it's a community webcam regional. I look forward to playing in the next one. Hopefully I will be much better prepared and not just building a deck the night before. So